Today, the tyrant rules not by club or fist, but disguised as a market researcher. He shepherds his flocks in the ways of utility and comfort. Marshall McLuhan. Shortly after 9/11, the Bush administration, specifically John Ashcroft, who was the Attorney General at the time under George W. Bush, started talking about getting control of the internet, being able to wiretap the internet, finding out what people were talking about on the internet. When that happened, various civil liberties groups, groups working in constitutional law became outraged about what Ashcroft was talking about. Because if you think about it, the internet is, in my opinion, the last bastion of democracy. That's where we have a right to speak. We have a right to speak where no one can control us. The little person, you don't have to have a newspaper now to get out your opinion to the world. It's an excellent source of information and participation in democracy and freedom. And naturally, authoritarian governments like the one we have in the United States and all governments around the world as we've moved in that direction want control. And the internet is the last big piece of the puzzle for which they want to have control over. Recently, Barack Obama, President of the United States, proposed what he calls the new identity ecosystem. This so-called identity ecosystem will replace all your passwords and login names with what's called a universal ID. In other words, to access accounts, the internet, you'll have to have this particular ID number. This would mean Twitter, Facebook, any kind of site, you'd have to have this universal ID, which would mean in the end though, however, since it's going to be overseen by the United States government, they will have access to all these sites and also your personal financial information or other privacy things that you may want to keep away from the government, simply because you're a human being. And really, to be a human being, you have to have a certain amount of privacy, or there's absolutely no control over your life. This particular program was masterminded by the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency, which is the nefarious secret eavesdropping group that listens in on telephone calls, even with American citizens, and emails, etc., with very large computer programs. They both jockeyed for control. Well, now President Obama says the Commerce Department is going to be overseeing this and controlling this so-called identity ecosystem. However, with the way that information is shared now between all agencies, and because the Department of Homeland Security is so ubiquitous, it's everywhere, obviously they're going to have access to any kind of information that you post on a website, talk about on a website, books you buy, purchases you make, and whatever. The United States government is going to know now under this particular system if this program's a go. And I think it is going to be a go. I think it's going to move forward because what the Obama administration is doing at this time is they're talking to the large corporations that run websites and whatever, and they're going to partner. And what this means is that this is going to be really a corporate state function. And again, this is going to be a universal ID. In other words, wherever you go, if you go to the doctor's office, you're going to have on your cell phone your ID, or wherever you have it, even to access your doctor. The other thing that really concerns me about programs like this, where the government knows what your particular ID system is, they have control over it. If you become that kind of person, that may cause a problem somewhere along the line. And if our government continues to move in Orwellian fashion into a surveillance state, which many constitutional experts and civil libertarians believe it's moving in that direction, what this will mean is that if they want to opt you out of the system, in other words, you won't be able to go to the drugstore, to your doctor, to the movies, or wherever, if you have to use any kind of ID system to get in. In other words, they can remove you from the system. This can be a way to punish so-called dissidents. In fact, some reporters, New York Times, Washington Post, have raised this issue already and said we're moving really toward the way that China has moved in terms of controlling internet activities. Obviously, we've already moved a long way down the road toward a surveillance state, and of course, control of the internet is the next step. And as I've said, I think the internet's the last bastion of freedom. If you are opposed to this particular program being proposed by our new president, I would contact your congressman, voice your concern, write letters, make telephone calls, and debated on the internet. And stay aware, because a lot of people don't know this is happening. When I started talking about this recently, people go, what are you talking about? We're not staying alert. You have to stay alert. Be educated. Education precedes action. And if we're going to keep freedom in our country today, it's going to take education plus action and taking strong stands for freedom.